Hi everyone, Ariana here from WellFed Photography, and I'm here with Jennifer Phillips, Chairperson of Friends of Breastfeeding. We're here to celebrate National Breastfeeding Week, and I'm so happy to have Jennifer on. So welcome, Jennifer. It's great to have you.
Thanks so much for having me.
And if you could just share a little bit about your own story briefly, how you, I guess, found your own journey through breastfeeding and your current role with Friends of Breastfeeding.
So my journey started with my first daughter, where I always knew I wanted to breastfeed, but to my advantage and disadvantage, I was completely and utterly clueless. I just assumed, it's a natural thing, everything would work out. And in the start, we had lots of challenges, lots of struggles. The first 2 weeks involved lots of tears. But once we worked everything out, it was amazing. I couldn't have made a better choice for us, and it influenced so much of my parenting and was so important to us. And I guess the fact that breastfeeding isn't normalized here and it's not a massive part of our culture, I was really seeking out knowledge and seeking out, so I wasn't quite sure what it was, but ultimately it ended up being more support. And so that's when I came across Friends of Breastfeeding online, just spotting nice information and articles and things like that on a Facebook page, realized there was events, wanted to go to those, and then started going to the groups. And then I really felt, this was the missing piece. I suppose, whole area of motherhood is so important, and if it's not the norm here, it makes such a massive difference, to not be doing it on your own, to have, friends around you or other people that are experienced around you, or that can just understand, basically, without questioning or judging or feeling the need to comment. And then I started becoming a volunteer, and it just snowballed from there.
And can you tell us a bit more about Friends of Breastfeeding, as in the services that are available through it, the supports that are available, and what might distinguish it from other groups like Leche League or Cuidiú?
So the main supports that Friends of Breastfeeding offer would be our mum-to-mum groups and our buddy system. They also have lots of events that we do throughout the year that have particular goals that we want to achieve, for the charity, to make a difference here in Ireland. The buddy system is something that is fantastic, for any mum, with breastfeeding. It can be a brand new mum, or it can be, your second time or third child, and you can have, just be in your early stages of pregnancy even, and you can sign up for the buddy system, or you could have your little one already a few months or weeks. And the idea of it is basically that you are connected to a friend that you didn't know you really needed, or someone who's currently a stranger, but they are about to become a really essential friend for you. And so in a way, it's a very important social support, but the breastfeeding buddy is also aware of what breastfeeding norms look like and how to really support someone. So if a mother has a question, or even if she just needs a listening ear, your buddy is there. And your buddy is there if you want someone to go with you the first time you breastfeed in public. Your buddy is there if you want to be connected with other mothers in your community. They can, point you in the direction, or even bring you to the local breastfeeding support groups and introduce you to other mums. So it's really there to make a circle of support around you, or be that person who will, maybe also be up with your children at 3 a.m. If they're awake and you've sent them a message, say you're getting it straight away, answer to your question, that sort of thing. And it's a lovely, unique service, and it's free, and it's completely volunteer run. Everything that we do is just people who really have been there, really care, and really want to make that difference for someone else. Then our groups. What's lovely about our groups is that we want so badly to create support in communities and fill gaps. So anyone can start a Friends of Breastfeeding group. We do provide training for our volunteers, but you don't need to go through years of training before you are allowed begin a group. So if you're in a rural community, or you are in a certain suburb of Dublin or something, and there isn't support in your area, just send us an email, and we will give you all the support you need to get a group going. And then straight away, there's a place in your community where mothers can meet each other and connect, and you have all the support we can give behind you. And so that's the nice thing about our support groups. And as I said, it's all volunteer run. Everyone there is a peer. So when you walk in, you're meeting mothers, like who've been through the same things as you. You won't walk into a room and be describing a situation that there won't be people there that'd be like, I was there a few weeks ago, or I was there last year, or that's me right now. And so it's often underestimated how much we need that, and the difference that it makes.
Yeah, and can you expand on the importance of peer support, even down to being able to see someone breastfeed? Because you talked about, someone might be in a small community, a rural community, maybe they don't know someone else who's breastfeeding, they haven't had family members who have breastfed. So can you talk about what it's like for someone to be able to see breastfeeding?
Yes, seeing it and things being visual and things being in front of you is massively important, and the emphasis isn't often put on it. I remember when myself, when I was pregnant, and I was like, okay, I need to learn about this, and you read something and you're like, okay, that's how you do it, and then you have a newborn baby in your arms and you're like, it's working, and you're like rereading, and I'm like, okay, do not compute, it's like, okay, you're being given this information, but your baby is doing one thing and your body is unfamiliar, and you are both learning, you're both unsure, and you have to completely support a newborn. It's not like an older child that can do things for themselves. So seeing it is what makes everything click. It makes everything so much easier, and there's so much we can take in visually, whether it's in person or in a video or in a photograph, that doesn't require words, and the information is transmitted so easy. Like ourselves, we have to be very careful, even the images we share as an organization, because often stock photography of breastfeeding, the hold actually won't be a great hold, or the mother might unknowingly be holding baby at the back of their head, which can interfere in some sort of ways. There's I guess, if you want to see the easiest thing or best case scenario, it needs to be something that is there for you, like that visual. And without it, how are people going to know? Like, this is the issue, that we think it's a natural thing, and our bodies are naturally able to do it. But in terms of knowing exactly how, as a mother, it would only be natural to us if it was in our culture. If we had grown up seeing our neighbors and our aunties and our mother's friends, or our mothers breastfeeding, or our older sisters, or just when you walk down the street seeing breastfeeding, all these things we've learned to do that we don't realize we've learned just from watching and seeing, and that goes for breastfeeding the same amount as anything else.
I could not agree with you more. And in fact, the book of Breastfeeding Stories that I'm working on right now, that's what I wanted so much to do, was to pair the visuals of people who are really breastfeeding. And it's not to say, like you said, the posed stock photos, it's not to say they aren't breastfeeding, but that could be more posed and in a controlled environment, versus just seeing someone on their couch breastfeeding, or maybe stirring a pot of food while they're feeding, or their baby wearing and they're feeding. They're all different ways that people can be feeding. So I wanted to be able to show varying views of what that looks like, so people can wrap their brains around it who haven't seen it before. So I love that you've said that. It's such an important piece. And like you said, we're not always seeing it out at cafes or in public, or we're not always seeing family members do it. So to be able to have some visuals, I think is very helpful. And if you can find peer support and you can see other people around you, I think it takes some of the fear out of it for people.
Definitely. And I love that point you made about how different it can look, because the amount of mothers, that I've heard that have said, oh, I was afraid I was doing it wrong, or I was afraid if I went to a group, people would look at me and they'd be judging how I was breastfeeding. And that couldn't be further from the truth. As long as you are comfortable, and as long as baby is comfortable, whatever that is perfect. And nobody is there to judge. And, all of our breasts are different, all of our bodies are different, all of our babies are different, we're different. So it will look different in everyone. And there isn't like one right way. As long as you are comfortable and baby is happy, you're winning. And there's no other, things that you need to be concerned about. And I often am surprised with the worries that mothers have in terms of attending groups or seeking help. And I guess it comes from just that culture we have of, judging women and judging mothers and how stressful mothers' lives can be made. But that's not what, support organizations are about. They're not there for that. They are there because they are just like you. They were you, or they completely get you, and they want to be there for you.
I love that so much. I think that's something that's so important, is for people to feel like they have that support behind them and that they can succeed, or there is a solution. It's just a matter of connecting with the right support. If you were to give 3 top tips to people who are considering breastfeeding, what would those top tips be?
Well, the first one, of course, I would say is to get a breastfeeding buddy. Because if you can connect with someone in pregnancy, you will get all of the helpful information you need ahead of time. So there'll be so many things that you can avoid. Like you could go into having a newborn, which is so challenging for anyone. Even the most experienced person or who has lots of support around them, it's going to be difficult. So if you can go in knowing what's normal, knowing what to not worry about, just a few tips to help you along the way, it will make such a massive difference. And then if something does crop up, you have a little concern, you can message them or call them, and straight away you're being connected to whatever support you need. They can suggest, okay, you can talk to a lactation consultant, or you can ring a Leche League, or they can connect you with these things. So everything is taken off your plate in that way. You have someone there who has those answers, or can help you find those solutions, or help empower you to make the choices that are best for you. So that would definitely be my number 1. Then number 2, I would say know where to find support. So know that there are groups out there. You can go on the HSE website, mychild.ie, or on the HSE page. They have like a search specifically for breastfeeding support groups. So at any time you can go on there, put in your location, and you can find the groups in your area, whether it's a HSE one, Friends of Breastfeeding, Leche League or Cuidiú, anything. At the moment, if people are watching this, in like coronavirus times, all of the organizations will have Zoom groups available, that it doesn't matter where the Zoom meet is being hosted, you can join it. So know that they are great places for support and information. Then in terms of other places to know where to go, lactation consultants. So the ALCI website is, IVLC and lactation consultants, they're internationally board certified, basically, for people who aren't familiar. And they're the people you can trust. They're people you can get the reliable information from. If you have a breastfeeding problem, there is a breastfeeding solution, and you will hear that from a breastfeeding expert. If you're asking someone else who isn't a breastfeeding expert, they might suggest a solution, but it might not be the solution that you need or want if your choice is to continue breastfeeding or do a certain level of breastfeeding. So know those places to go. So tip number 3 is know where to look. So basically, if you have any question about breastfeeding, go onto the Kelly Mom website. It's a fantastic website, and then it'll have all the answers for you. The website is great too. Then the HSC also have a service on offer. I think it's called LC Live Chat, but basically you can speak to a lactation consultant online. They arrange an appointment for you, but it's pretty instant, and you can get your questions answered. And surprisingly, if you get into a really good Facebook group with breastfeeding mothers, you are walking into a fountain of knowledge. If you are connected with mothers who have had several breastfeeding journeys or have breastfed for years, they have been through it all, they have seen it all, and they know the importance of evidence-based research, evidence-based answers. They're not going to tell you, oh, well, this is what my baby did anecdotally. They're going to say, here's what you can check out, and you can see if this applies to you. These are the places you can go. This is everything they'll be saying is based on something, and you can trust that. So I would say go to the source. Go to the source for your information, and then you can make your own decisions once you have been empowered with those sorts of resources.
I love those tips, because something that I ran into when I was interviewing the women for the book that I'm doing is so many of them said they didn't know where to look. They didn't know the resources that were available. So that was part of my inspiration of having people like yourself on to be able to share this knowledge and to be able to help people feel more connected to support and to know what support is out there. So I thank you so much for those tips. If people would like to get connected with Friends of Breastfeeding or become involved through volunteering, or if they'd like to donate, where's the best place for them to go to do that?
So what I'd say is follow our social media and our website. So in terms of volunteering, if we're ever looking for specific types of volunteers, we will post it on our social media. If people would like to start a mum-to-mum group, you can get the email address on our website. It's m2m@friendsofbreastfeeding.ie, and you'll get support there to set up a group. And any other type of volunteering or any questions, you can contact our inquiries email. You can also donate on our website, or if we're ever doing any sort of event or donation sort of drive, we will put the link on our social medias. So I would say go to those places to see how you can get involved or what ways you can support. And the thing about donations are that the organization, you know, from the outside, it might look big and it might be doing a very important job, but it's actually a lot, like a small group of mothers working incredibly hard, 100% volunteering. So all donations go into basically keeping the organization running and investing it back into doing things for mothers in communities. So every donation you are making, you are supporting some mother's journey somewhere. You're giving them the help that they really need, that, you know, we wish we weren't needed. We wish, you know, we were just a country where everybody's, you know, friend or sister could be, you know, the perfect breastfeeding buddy. But because we aren't in that sort of culture, that's why organizations like ours are really essential.
That's amazing, and actually probably a great point for a great moment for me to let people know that for the month of October, WellFed Photography sales, 10% of WellFed Photography sales are actually going back to Friends of Breastfeeding. So that's our way of being of support. Giving back has always been part of our ethos ever since the day one of WellFed Photography, and we're also doing an incredible giveaway too, where we are doing a giveaway for a photo session and one of our 5 photograph folio boxes. So this is one of our petite folio boxes. So I wanted to be able to let people know about that as well, because it's so important, and people, business owners have such a fantastic opportunity to give back to amazing groups such as yourself, to be able to keep that support going and to make sure that people have the support that they need. So I wanted to put that in. And you also have the Friends of Breastfeeding Awards going. So can you tell us a bit about the nominations, different categories, and how people can cast their nominations and their votes?
So the Friends of Breastfeeding Awards is something really, really, really dear to us. The reason it was created was to try and celebrate people in our community, celebrate people who are making a difference, and also to shine a light on ways that we can all improve as a culture, you know, to be bigger friends of breastfeeding or breastfeeding supporters. So some of the categories we'll have will be for, you know, volunteer of the year or lactation consultant of the year, mother of the year. But then we also have categories that are equally as important, like photographer of the year, journalist of the year, media feature of the year. And the reason for those is because you want to shine a light on the things that make a difference, you know, in terms of what the messages we're receiving. So if people are creating, you know, excellent images that are really helpful in terms of normalizing, or if people are, you know, writing articles or doing interviews that are really informative and evidence-based, or, you know, positive and supportive of breastfeeding, people seeing those things and hearing those things have a massive impact. And, you know, if anyone was to sort of question that, if you just think, you know, how many great breastfeeding images, you know, surround you in your daily life, you know, you can probably think in most cases none. How many times have you heard something about breastfeeding on the radio or in the media that wasn't more often than not spun negatively, or had misinformation in it? And so these things are essential in supporting people who want to be breastfeeding, and also informing people who, I guess, you know, they might be at that point in their lives, but if they don't have the information or they don't see the visuals, how are they ever going to make an informed choice? How are they ever going to have that opportunity to possibly have that path for themselves? So these things are really, really important, and we want to shine a light on them and reward people doing excellent work in those fields.
That's so amazing. I love that you have such a range of nomination categories to be able to highlight those incredible people that are out doing the work, that are out normalizing and supporting and promoting breastfeeding among all the citizens in the country who maybe wouldn't otherwise have that positive exposure, as you said. Just to close things out, everything that we do at WellFed Photography is about legacy. It's about living a life in a way that outlives our actual life. We want to leave that legacy behind. We want to leave positive experiences for people. And so I'm curious to know, with your work through Friends of Breastfeeding, what type of legacy would you like to leave behind?
So do you mean for the organization?
It can be for the organization, it can be for the country of Ireland and where they are with breastfeeding now and where you'd like to see them go, or it can be both.
Well, I guess I would bring in here the Friends of Breastfeeding Awards, because when I had the idea for us to start that, I didn't know how well it would take off. And, you know, people absolutely loved it. And we, even though it's only been going a short time, we've already noticed the difference in, I guess, like the impact. You know, like I did have this hope, for example, oh, if we create Journalist of the Year, maybe it might encourage people to write more evidence-based articles or encouraging positive articles. And you can already see that little bit of difference there, because if people are having a hard time actually getting their editors to publish these stories, you know, even if they're really passionate, it can be a hard push for some people in a country like this. So I guess that is a fantastic thing to have done and created, and I'm hoping that it will keep growing. And I guess I would like us to keep expanding, because even though we're a very small organization, we tend to take on a lot. And so the organization has grown quite quickly. So I guess my hope would be that, you know, we're over 10 years old, and that would be around in 10 years in the future, still helping mothers and still, I guess, making a difference in people's journeys.
That's amazing. And it's just such notable work. And I'm just so thrilled to have you on to be able to share more about you and more about the organization. You've done a fantastic job. Is there anything else that you would like to let people know who are watching this?
Well, basically, if in terms of the awards, again, if people want to nominate, the option is still available to do that. You can go on our website and you can find the link to nominate. And you don't, we have, as you said, we have lots of categories. You don't need to nominate in every category, you know, so if you just think, okay, I want to, you know, I have my, you know, favorite supporter, or, you know, like, that's a lovely category, actually. We have supporter of the year. So that could be someone's mom, it could be someone's partner, it could be someone's neighbor. So if you just want to nominate a supporter, you know, a photographer, you know, or your favorite celebrity mom, because they're really important too, you know, the celebrities that normalize and be like, yes, I'm breastfeeding my toddler and it's amazing for us. Those things have a massive impact. So you can just choose a few if you want. You don't need to go through all the different categories, and that's a lovely thing for people to do. And while you're there, you can browse the website and see if there's anything you'd like to get involved in or anything you can benefit from that the organization can give to you as well.
And they can sign up for a newsletter, correct? They can put their details in and get.
Yeah, there are several things on the website that if people want to avail or get involved in, they can. And in terms of volunteering, as I said, because we're completely volunteer run, you know, even if you just have the smallest thing you'd like to do or the biggest thing, you know, contact us. That's what we're all about. And we're all, you know, working mothers with children who just, I guess, want to change the world in a little way, you know, person by person.
Well, you and the rest of the Friends of Breastfeeding team are such inspirations. I thank you for being here, and I look forward to watching it grow. And I hope that whoever's watching this, they might feel, if they feel a connection, that they'll get in touch. And who knows, maybe they'll start groups in their own community and leave their own legacies behind. But I thank you again for being here, and happy National Breastfeeding Week to you and your family.
Great. Thanks so much, Ariane.
Bye-bye.
Bye.